It is Katie's Insight, and thank you so much for coming to listen to my insight on things. As you guys know, I talk about all kinds of stuff. Oh my gosh, I have to sneeze, including weird bodily functions. Okay, hold on. It's gone. Do you guys ever have to do that and then you make the scrunch face to make it go away? Anyway, you're gonna listen to my insight on stuff, and today we're gonna talk about stimulus. Oh my gosh, as you guys know, if you saw my videos from earlier, it has been silliness, and the silliness is just continuing. More and more information is coming out about this as I film. Also, good morning, y'all. I think this is gonna go up later in the day, so that might not make sense, but I am filming this early in the morning. Do you guys I love waking up early in the morning. I don't know. I just feel super energized when I do. Hold on. Fresh oranges. Smells so good. Okay, so where are we at with stimulus? Let me give you a quick little brief dive in so you guys have some context. If you saw the videos earlier, then you know. If you didn't, you're not 100% sure, but I'm gonna give you a bit of a lowdown and a breakdown on what is going on. Basically, Pelosi is doing political stunts and she is getting called out, which I think we all get happy about, because at this point, if you've been following the situation, you know how manipulative the situation is. And more importantly, she is. And she has really been a thorn in the side of holding up us getting stimulus help. Surprise, the government just taking its time to be slow to be selfish. I know, must be a blank theory, a word I can't say because YouTube will get mad at me and then I can't do these videos because this is where we are at. AI bots control the world. It's weird. I feel like we're in a Terminator movie or something from 25 years ago or whatever. Remember that movie with, was it Denzel Washington? Remember? And everybody had the weird haircuts. It was like the 90s and they were like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's the president or something. I think Sandra Bullock was in it. Something about seashells. What am I, sound off in the comments. What am I talking about? Okay, stimulus. What movie is that? I keep wanting to say Blade Runner, but I don't even know what Blade Runner is. It was like a futuristic thing. I think Sylvester Stallone might have been in it. And they're like, he doesn't know how to use the seashells. What am I, like, it's weird. Do you guys ever do that? I have little blips of a memory of something, but I don't have any clue what it is. I feel like I'm looking at Frozen people too, but not Frozen or Frozen 2, the Disney movie. Anyway, sound off in the comments what movie am I talking about. Before I dive in, guys, I want to remind you, giving away a $100 gift card. So simple to be eligible. This is all you have to do. Like the video, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom. That's it, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do it for every video you see. The more videos you do it, the more chances you have to win, to be eligible, and the more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win a gift card. So please comment up. Also, all of this helps grow the channel, which I am so grateful for. Every day I do these videos, I'm so grateful for the love and support that I've had in the transition I'm doing. So thank you guys so, so much. Also, good news, my face is less red. Getting better. We're getting there, as I hope everybody else is safe and warm and feeling okay as much as you can in these situations. Let's dive into stimulus. Where are we at? So this is where we've been at, as most of you guys know. It has been standstill. Right now, the Senate was let go on recess for campaigning because they haven't had enough recess this year. Guys, I know I've done this before, but when you pull up their calendar of how many days and hours they're actually in their position at the Senate, it's disgusting. And you got to keep in mind, these people make minimum, just as senators, $174,000 a year, not to mention what they make in their home states for what they do there and all the other money they get other places. I think I read something that they get like $30,000 or $40,000 a year just to like change up their furniture. Are you kidding me? You make a full person's salary a year just to have different types of, like, could you imagine what that's like? I want to redecorate. Here's 40 grand when people can't eat. Also, guys, if I look a little sideways, my chair is doing, I call it the ghost chair. It's doing that thing where it slowly pivots. And I think we realized it's because the house that I'm in, it's a little bit uneven, the floors and stuff. But if you guys just see me slowly start to go this way, that is why. I take the scientific approach. It's not that the floors are uneven. There's a ghost behind me messing with me, because you know what? I'm not important. If somebody dies, they're like, I need to mess with her in her chair, and that's what I'm spending my afterlife doing. Isn't that weird when you think about ghosts and you think about the way we perceive ghosts, that a lot of us, like, we have this concept of like, well, they stay behind and haunt you. Like, I always joke and I'm like, I don't think I'd be that important for anybody to want to stay around and mess with. Like, I mean, if you do, I guess you're really messed up. But then again, maybe mental illness exists in the afterlife. Sound off if mental illness exists in the afterlife. Anyway, let's get to, why do these weird tangents always happen? You guys hear these brain vomits from me. These are the weird thoughts. I wish I had these at 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. This is just consistent. I don't know. I guess I get bored, especially with all the quarantining and whatnot. I got to create my own fun. So here's where we're at. The Senate is out. It's O-U-T out. We've had the House pass a couple different bills, like the HEROES Act. They passed a revised, skinnier version of a HEROES Act recently, and the Senate keeps rejecting everything. The Senate has rejected like 3 different bills from Mitch McConnell. Hey, Mitch, I'd be embarrassed if I were you, considering you're also on record letting people know, basically, not in literal quotes, but you don't really care about starving children. In fact, the majority of the Republicans in the Senate don't. The Senate can't get together to vote on anything. And I think, for me, that's what's the scariest about this whole stimulus thing, because we can have as many deals as we want between the White House and the Democrats, which is what they've been trying to do. But unfortunately, if the Senate can't get on the same page and be sold with something, I don't know where that leaves us. To them, homeless and starving, and they just don't care. Why are these people still getting paid? Why are they still in their positions? These are questions I really want the answers to, and I think you guys do too. I think we should take all of their salaries and just disperse them as stimulus checks, even if we all got just $3. How good would that $3 check feel, knowing that they're not going to get anything until they actually get off their you-know-what and help people? Can you imagine? Almost $200,000, and that's starting salary for a senator, to sit there and do nothing. Twiddle your thumbs, put them up your butt, just do absolutely F all. Really. And then they get more money. Some of these people making $500,000 a year. It's insane. For the little tiny work they do and the way they just screw everybody over and lie and manipulate and exaggerate, it's just all the sociopathy just comes pouring out. So we have Mnuchin and we have, oh my gosh, what's her name? I almost said Skeletor. That's so mean. I'm not making fun of her appearance. I'm really not, but that was the name that came to mind because I know what it's like to have your appearance made fun of. Y'all. Interesting side note, there was a time I put myself on YouTube when I was sick and gaining weight, and I gained weight because I was sick. I'm like eating very little sugar, very little salt, like trying to watch my carbs, eating salads and getting huge. And I was 270 pounds and people weren't very kind to me. So in no way, shape or form do I actually want to, make fun of somebody's body. But I think I'm not making fun of her body. It's just that the evilness, that voice, like that's what came to mind. Nancy Pelosi is her name. Oh God help me. Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin have been meeting behind closed doors. And as of the last week or so ago, we heard things are going great. It's awesome. We are at a deal. And it looked like we were going to get something. And then like 2 or 3 self-imposed deadlines by like Pelosi, Mnuchin, and Pelosi about, we have 48 hours to get this. And my whole thing is, I've been saying for a while, my biggest concern with all of this is that I don't think Pelosi has any intention of letting anything pass at this time because she doesn't want to do anything that can make Trump look good, even if it's to save our lives. And sure enough, that's what it looks like is happening because Friday, and Pelosi, we have her recorded saying, we're there. We're just about there. We're there. And we're basically ready to write everything and get the language down and sign. Pelosi then turns around and says, talks are off. No, we're done. So now we're hearing reports that they are so far apart when we heard they had basically made the deal. So once again, surprise, surprise, we have Miss Pelosi lying freaking Pelosi. I'm so tired of catching her on lies. Yes, by the way, when I say Republicans and Democrats, I say this with as much love as I can, and I know my regular audience hears this, but anybody new watching, I'm not talking about any of you fine people that lean left or right. Most of you, we could probably sit down, have a decent conversation, be on the same page with a lot of stuff. I'm talking about the crazies at the top or the extremists who have their own issues, some of them. So, and I'm sure some of them have valid reasons, right? But just hear me out. I'm not trying to insult you fine people that are watching because most of us have enough reason and common sense we could sit down and actually talk things out. But this is where we stand right now. And so now stimulus talks are off and she's saying we're so far apart. What's interesting is evil old curmudgeon Mitch McConnell doesn't care about starving kids. Mitch McConnell, he actually came out a few days ago. He came out and said, I think it's interesting that we keep hearing that they're so close because I think the real story is they're really far apart. And boom, now that's what we're hearing from Pelosi. And I feel like this was all a big orchestrated lie. If you guys remember over the last 2 or 3 weeks, she got so much heat because she's at 2.2 trillion with her bill, which was really almost around the 4 trillion mark and like the 3.5 trillion. And she won't compromise. She was like, well, I'm not going to compromise, but we'll shorten the time frame. So they came up from $500 billion. $500 billion. They came up to like 1.8, 1.9 trillion. And basically have offered her everything. And over this time, we have offered her everything in the government. When I say we, I mean the Trump administration. And I'm not pro-Trump, I'm not anti-Trump. I'm just telling you this is what's happened. They came to her this summer and said, let's do a stopgap bill for unemployment, rent, and student loans. Said no. She said no. They're like, and Trump said, let's just extend all this to the end of December because you know how this political stuff goes. It could go a while and we don't want the American people to suffer. She said no. And so then Trump made his own executive orders to help people with FEMA money. And it got some people 5-6 weeks of additional stimulus unemployment. And he did try to help some things with rent assistance, but it's not going nearly far enough and it can't go where it should. But he's the only one that gives the appearance of trying. So she got tons and tons of heat because they came up to 1.9. 0.3 away, guys. And she still said no. And if you guys saw my drunk Nancy Pelosi video, if you haven't, go check it out because it's pretty fun. Because I break down all her little drunk idiosyncrasies. By the way, when I say drunk, I'm not saying she was drunk, but she was acting a fool. Oh, you would think so. She was acting a fool. She was mad. She was kind of going off. She was super insulting. And you could tell that all the criticism, she was getting tons of pressure everywhere. Even the Democratic colleagues of hers saying, just effing pass something. Just get this passed. She won't do it. She won't do it. So she's gotten a lot of pressure. And my take has been, I think now suddenly she's acting like we're going to pass stimulus before the election to take the heat off her. And it's just the donkey and the carrot, right? And we're the donkeys behind the carrot going, check. Like that's how I see this at this point. And it's so frustrating. So where are we at overall with this situation? What is happening? So I'll tell you kind of like, I'll lay it out, kind of what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it. I think she has been stringing the president along and she's been stringing everybody along to make it look like she's ready to make a deal. On top of that, to suddenly do a 180 and, well, I'm willing to work with you guys now. And she wouldn't even take calls to try to do private, meetings to get this stuff done. She was trying to take the heat off of her. So last minute she could say, well, it's not being done and it's all Trump's fault. Because the name of the game with the Democrats, or specifically Nancy Pelosi, is make Trump look as bad as possible. Maybe it's because he's calling you out for your state that's on fire and homeless and the taxes are so high, everybody's fleeing. Maybe it's because of that. You kind, tolerant, loving woman, go get the blowout with all the homeless people around you. Like, out of everybody, she makes me the most mad. Because at least with Mitch McConnell, he is evil, but you get what you get. And a lot of times, you'll get the truth. You don't have these manipulative games. I'm not saying that I'm not pro-Mitch at all, as you can hear, but I would rather know where I stand than have to play manipulative, snaky, sneaky games. Like, I feel like Pelosi is that one girlfriend that we all have, right? Or men, even if you don't have girlfriends, right? Like, men, those women that like maybe your partner has, where she's just real manipulative and nasty and backhanded. You always have to second guess, and she always brings up drama. Like, I feel like that's Nancy. She's always screwing things up. Like, that's Nance. That's Nance for us. So, Nancy Pelosi, this is so ridiculous. She wrote an open letter to Steve Mnuchin. Keep in mind, they are talking every day on the phone. She's really, really trying hard when she talks to him for 55 minutes every weekday to basically say, I want what I want. And she wants money to bail out her poorly mismanaged, misrun state so then she can spread her extreme leftist ideology to the rest of the cities in the country, which many of them now are just imploding because that's what they've been doing. Homeless populations are just insane right now across the country in big metropolitan cities. Look at Portland, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, Baltimore. I can go on and on and on. So it's getting weird. It's getting real. I swear it's almost like I look at this stuff with her and I'm like, are you attempting to destroy the country? Is that what this is? Like, is there this whole behind the scenes plot for y'all to destroy the country and the Republicans are in on it, but not nearly as intricate, and that's why they just don't want to do anything to help people who are homeless and starving? Is it just me, or does it seem like both sides are just HELL bent on just destroying everything? That's how it comes across to me. But she writes this open letter to Mnuchin. Funny enough, how was it the media got the letter before Mnuchin did? And she sent it to him at midnight. Politico had the letter before anybody else. And she wrote this open letter. So I want to read this to you and we're going to go in detail. Y'all, buckle in. This is getting real stupid. These freaking people. So, okay. The first letter she wrote October 27th. By the way, these letters aren't super long, so I'm not going to sit here and just drudge up a bunch of stuff. So it says, "Dear colleague, it's about time." So this is about 3-ish, 4-ish days ago, October 27th. "Dear Democratic colleague, for a long time now, congressional Democrats have laid out a strategic plan to crush the House, and Mitch McConnell have resisted, and on Sunday, Mark Meadows told us why, saying, we're not going to control the pandemic. What he's saying is factual. You can't control a virus. You can't. You can do things to try to mitigate it. You can do things to try to protect yourself, put protections in place the best of your ability. But as our society stands right now with the technology we are allowed to have and receive medically, no, you can't control it. They do this. She's always like, oh, everything I say is based off of science and facts and academics, even though she never releases that information. But then she acts like, wow, I say that's unscientific. No, that's actually the most scientific thing. You can't control a virus. You can't control these microscopic, like particles that are flying. You can do your best with it and you can protect yourself. What makes me sad is I have blank theories in me that say, I bet we actually do have the technology to wipe out a lot of the world's illnesses and viruses and all these different things. I bet there is all kinds of healing technology. We just don't get access to it because then they couldn't profit off of us, right? That's just, by the way, I can't sit here and tell you I have undeniable proof of that. That's just what my gut says. And I like to listen to my gut. I am kind of hungry. Hold on, oranges. Anyway, from hoax to hundreds of thousands dead, the White House has failed miserably, not by accident, but by decision. Now we know why they resisted science at the expense of our lives, livelihood, and the life of our democracy. Again, it was a decision to do so. Today, the blowback from the Meadows confession made the Meadows confession. I love confession, just like when they were like, Trump had talked to the president of China and he knew how bad the virus was in February. Okay, so newsflash. Nobody knew, not even China. China. I'm sorry. Every time I think of China now, I just hear Trump going, China. What is it? CHINYAH. China. So stupid. Have you guys seen that video? It's like a 45-second clip of just him in 2016 running around places going, China, China, China. And it just always makes me laugh just because the way he says it. China. So anyways, nobody knew. Nobody knew how bad this thing was, not even China. They didn't know. And you know what? They still don't. That's why the CDC and the WHO change every week and sometimes within the same 24 hours on what's actually happening with this. Most people don't really know. We don't even really know the full story on exactly how it came to be. It's a mess. It's a mess, guys. So just to kind of throw that out there. Today, the blowback from Meadows' confession made it imperative for the president to declare, after the election, we will get the best stimulus package you've ever seen. We'll see. The president's words only have meaning if he can get Mitch McConnell to take his hand off the pause button. This week, we continue to put pen to paper with thanks to our committee chairs for their mastery of the legislation and loyalty to American working families. Thank you for your leadership for the people. Stay well. So that was the first one, okay? Here's the second one. A little bit longer, not super much, but I want to go over this in detail. I detailed it in the other video. I will skim over this just so you can hear some of this because this is important to what you're going to hear because Mnuchin made a response. This was October 29th. So this says, Dear Secretary Mnuchin, our nation will soon pass the heartbreaking milestone of 9 million virus cases and 250,000 American deaths. At the same time that 8 million are being pushed into poverty, 17 million children are food insecure, and over 23 million workers are on unemployment. Meanwhile, as the virus surges and the stock market plummets, we are still awaiting the Trump administration's promised responses on multiple items of critical importance. More than a week ago, you publicly announced that the White House would accept Democrats' testing, tracing, and treatment language with only a light touch. We still have not received a final answer on new compromised language regarding whether the administration will agree to the national science-based strategy for testing, tracing, and treatment that is needed to crush a virus, as well as languages on vaccine, the provider fund, and ACA coverage for unemployed workers. So basically, as you're hearing, she's saying that you had announced that you were ready to take on our plan, and this is where it was at. And now you haven't. We're still waiting for that. She says, in addition, we are still awaiting state and local, a response on funding for state, local, and tribal territories that will honor our heroes and prevent devastating cuts to services. Very interesting. She said, we're there. And now we have this list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things, including the stuff she just mentioned. Safe schools. Answers on funding to safely reopen our schools with separation, ventilation, sanitation, and more funding for teachers and support. I can't say stuff normally that she does because it's just driving me nuts. And also on ensuring private schools, K through 12 public schools, and higher education receive a sufficient balance of funding. Childcare. A response to whether the White House will agree to the child care funding families desperately need, so we can have child learning, parents earning while some schools are closed. She loves to get these rhyming, snappy responses. Yes, Nance the poet. Blowout Nance. I hope she does. I want her to be a poet, and I wanted her to sign her name Blowout Nance. To people who don't know that this is her hair, that might look really weird. Tax credits for working families. Shut up, you're inappropriate, guys. An answer on whether the White House will provide funding to strengthen the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit. Unemployment insurance. A response on whether the White House will prevent 5 million Americans from exhausting their benefits, in addition to addressing other unemployment needs of America's working families. OSHA and liabilities. A response on whether the White House will agree to keep our workers safe as they risk their lives and their jobs to keep us safe and get the economy running. OSHA basically has to do with worker safety. Your responses are critical for our negotiation to continue. The president's words that after the election we will get the best stimulus package you've ever seen only have meaning if he can get Mitch McConnell to take his hands off the pause button and get Senate Republican chairman moving toward agreement with the House counterparts. As I send this communication, millions of Americans have been waiting in line for hours to vote, and it is disappointing that the White House does not want to provide funding for our elections during the pandemic. We also hope that you will reconsider your opposition to ensure a full and accurate census count. That one I think is weird because I'm like, at this time, how can you go get an accurate census count when we're all supposed to be quarantining as much as we can? You're gonna send people out there to go home to talk to people? Yeah, that seems real safe. Just put it off a year or two if you have to. Like, good Lord. The American people are suffering, and they want us to come to an agreement to save lives, livelihoods, and the life of our American democracy as soon as possible. In light of these challenges, I respectfully await your attention to these urgent matters. Sincerely, P. Lowe. That'd be my dream if she was like, P. Lowe? So, that's what she has said. However, this is so much fun, guys. So, we have Steve Mnuchin. And this is what he says. He tweeted this, by the way, which I think is hilarious. I don't know why. It's just funnier to me that he tweeted this. It's got 1.5 thousand likes, 7,000 retweets. No, 1.5 thousand comments, 7,000 retweets, and 12.3 thousand comments. So it says, he says, I woke up this morning and read Speaker Pelosi's letter to me in the press. Enclosed is my response. Her all or none, capital letters, approach is hurting hardworking Americans who need help now. So he wrote a letter to her and put it on Twitter because I think he just felt very, very disrespected by what she did because he's calling her out and saying she's lying. Surprise! Blowout Nance is lying again. By the way, there's a funny comment under here. It says, from this guy, Idea Obsessed, he says, meanwhile, you're working on sanctions and on other countries and meaningless peace deals. Made me laugh. Here we go to the Honorable Nance Pelosi. For the Speaker, U.S. House of Representatives, Washington, D.C. Dear Speaker Pelosi, I woke up this morning and read your letter to me in the press because you sent it to my office at midnight and simultaneously released it to the press. I can unfortunately only conclude that it is a political stunt. Yes, Queen! Tell her Mnuchin. I gotta tell you guys, out of all of these characters, I think I like Mnuchin more and more and more because to me, he just very much comes across as a straight shooter who wants to help the American people. And he always tries to take the respectful route of the middle of the road to be respectful to everybody. So watching him call her out like this publicly is hilarious. Also note, over the last 2 or 3 months, Mnuchin has been really quiet, where he was really, for a while, he was on the circuit with like Larry Kudlow. They were on the circuit together and they were consistently talking about the stimulus stuff. And and Mark Meadows. And so far, Stephen has really taken a back seat and he hasn't been really that public at all when it comes to addressing the media. So the fact that he did this and he called her out this way to me is Hilarious. It says, I've spoken with you almost every day for the last 45 days in an attempt to reach a serious bipartisan compromise that would benefit the hardworking Americans who have been impacted by the virus. Mark Meadows, Republican committee chairs, and I have dedicated endless hours to try to reach a compromise with you. Because your letter to me inaccurately describes the status of our current negotiation, I feel obligated to publicly respond. Get her. As I said publicly, we did accept your proposal on dollars and language on testing as identified in subtitle C of the bill, testing and testing infrastructure. We provide minor comments with the exception of Section 548, Public Health Data Systems Transformation, which we believe should be appropriately considered in the 2021 appropriations process and not a special virus bill. On Subtitle D, which deals with contact tracing, we provide both written and oral detailed comments. My public comments never referenced contact tracing. Nevertheless, we provided you a reasonable response and that agreed to the funding level, but included more authority to the states as they have varying circumstances. So basically, as you guys are hearing, he's saying, okay, so yes, as I said publicly, we did accept your dollars and language on what you wanted to do with testing. And then we also made comments about certain exceptions with public health data transformation. So public health data, I don't know if that's privacy concerns for people. I'm not 100% sure like what some of this is, but it looks like there was just some certain wording that it said we believe it should be appropriately considered in the 2021 appropriations process and not a special virus bill. So we'll have to wait and see like exactly what that minutia is for that data as to what they were saying that they wanted there. And in subtitle D with the contact tracing, we provided both written and oral detailed comments. My public comment never referred to contact tracing. Nevertheless, we provided you a reasonable response and agreed to do the funding level, but include more authority to the states. And that's him saying, okay, so some states are gonna have more issues than others, that's normal. You gotta remember, guys, like when we hear stuff about Europe, which Europe right now is starting to go back into lockdowns. We have Italy, France, Germany, and different parts now doing like month-long lockdowns. You have to remember a lot of those countries are small. If you've never been outside the United States, it's hard to conceptualize. Like, for instance, I've lived in France. You can mostly travel the state of France in one day, one direction, both ways, north, east, south, west, depending on which way you go. So for them, if somebody comes over here and, to the United States, everything is so much bigger. Like even just the roads, like, oh my gosh, I tried to drive in France and it was a nonstop panic attack because like there's this much room between you and the other car and this much room on the road. And I had to drive a stick. And that means I had to constantly be thinking about what the car is doing while I'm trying to drive, why these people are speeding. Never again. What is that place called? The Champs-Élysées, that big roundabout, the insane no holds bar, no rules roundabout. Yeah, I did that. I was gonna die. I don't know how I'm sitting here talking to you. But my point is that like, we have a huge country, a ginormous country. So it's going and as a result, different areas of the country are going to have different needs. And yes, we're all united as Americans under this country for the parameters and definitions we go by this country as that it is right now. But every place in the country is going to be different. Just think about how many accents we have in this country. I mean, that happens anywhere though. Every place has different accents, right? Different regions have different dialects and that sort of thing. But because this country is huge, what works for one state might not work for another. So just these are things to keep in mind that as Americans, we don't always understand. I've always talked about this too when I hear the debates about socialism or communism. I am of the mindset socialism done correctly can be beautiful if it's democratic socialism. So a lot of these European countries like Sweden, I've lived in a democratic socialist country. I've lived in France. It can be done well. Any health issues you have, you're not going bankrupt. You're taken care of. You can even have a doctor come to your house for free. Medication is almost free. To me, that's the humane way to do things in a society. And they don't let nearly as many chemicals and crap in the food and water as we do per the United States. So they have a different value on health, which is fantastic. But what I also tell people is I'm like, however, it's only going to work if the governments, A, aren't too corrupt. Because look at Venezuela, look at some of the other stuff that we see. A, if the governments aren't too corrupt. And B, you have to remember, we have hundreds of millions of people here. They don't. They have tens of millions. They have a few million. And to be able to do that it's easier to do with a smaller country. To implement it on the scale of the United States, I don't know how you would do it. I think it would have to be a state-run or even a county-run situation. But I just wanted to throw that out there. A lot of people don't understand that. So with like the language he's putting out here about, we need to kind of work on the circumstances per state and where the money goes, I think that's smart. So he says, I would like to also highlight that while you hold up the additional funding for testing and vaccines, the administration has made incredible progress funding both these areas with previous funding. These efforts have been led by hardworking officials in DOD and HHS. You should be thanking them instead of criticizing them for their work. Yes, tell her, Mnuchin. And a lot of people don't know this. The United States right now is working, the White House is working with like 7 different vaccine makers, trying to get this to go and greenlight this as soon as possible for people. I also have concerns about that because I just don't trust the FDA, and I don't trust these people who've just put all kinds of stuff in our systems to allow cancers to run rampant and to completely destroy our gut microbiomes and create all new types of illnesses and chronic illness and chronic pains. Just going to throw that out there. In addition, we have also worked with the agencies and committee chairs to send you detailed compromise responses of the following items: appropriations, small business, employee retention tax credits, rental assistance, broadband, agriculture, and post-service. So he's saying, we worked with you and we got you detailed responses and we've compromised on these issues. As it relates to state and local funding, schools, extended unemployment benefits, liability protections, and OSHA, we have provided reasonable compromise positions. On these major pillars, you have refused to come. So he's calling her out. Remember, she said, we're there. And he's saying that we gave you reasonable things for, again, state and local, schools, extended unemployment benefits, liability protections, and OSHA. And he says, we've given you reasonable compromise, but you refuse. So how was it that we're riding it last week, and now we're so far apart? Methinks there's a liar? Anybody smell lies cooking? We have also reached out to work on bipartisan basis with the Problem Solvers group. You have rebuffed this effort and said it has no relevance. And that's another thing. If you guys remember, the Problem Solver group put in a bill. A lot of people were like it. A lot of people were on board. I liked it. I thought it looked good. There were still some things lacking, but I was like, this is a good start, and they will have nothing to do with it. And nobody can understand why, except that they're corrupt and awful. While you accuse the administration of holding up the negotiations, you refuse to bring to the floor of the House standalone legislation to support airline workers, additional paycheck protection payments to small businesses, and additional direct payments that we can fund by using already approved money that we have not spent. Your all or nothing approach is hurting hardworking Americans who need help now. Sincerely, Mnuchin. I love this. I want to break this down. Just go over this quickly. While you accuse the administration of holding up negotiations, you refuse to bring back. So he's basically saying, you've held things up. He's now putting the blame on her. This is your fault. And he says that you won't allow any standalone legislation for airlines, PPP for small businesses, direct payments to people. He's calling her out. He's basically saying, Pelosi, you're the reason the American people don't have stimulus checks. I'm so happy he's done this. You are the reason small businesses are failing. And to be quite frank, she is. Now, here's the things. I can already hear people saying, but the Republican, you're right. And you're right. The Republicans are turds, pieces of crap at the top. I've said this and I will always stand by that statement. However, Pelosi is taking the blame because she's the one playing the games. At least the Republicans have been pretty clear and straightforward with where they are, so we could figure out how to work with them. She refuses, but parades around like she has our best interest. And to me, this signals she doesn't. She probably never has. I think she does want to just bail out her poorly run state. I want to go over this from The Hill because it gives a bit more detail. It says, this is from thehill.com. Mnuchin says he learned of Pelosi's letter to him about stimulus talks in the press. And guys, keep in mind, this is what happened. She sent it. This is what we're learning. She sent this letter midnight to his office. And then she also sent it at the same time to the press. I agree with Mnuchin. This is a political stunt, but everything she's doing is a political stunt. It's all about not keeping Trump in office. Screw Trump. And you know what it makes me think? It makes me think, how many of these awful people behind the scenes that really control everything, that are hurting women and children or doing actual modern day slavery? Pelosi, how owned are you by these people? By the way, not just Pelosi. I think it's all of them, Republicans included, the majority of them. Hashtag drain the swamp. That's not even me being pro-Trump. That's just me being pro-common sense with what's actually going on. Y'all thought a guy named Jeff and his airplane was you thought that was most. That's the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately. It's vindicating to have this come out. It's sad that it's happening. And it's also, at the same time, equal parts just infuriating that this has gone on so long. People like me, when we raised our voices, I've known about this stuff since I was 18 years old, we're looked at as crazy, but I'm used to being called crazy, whatever. So it says, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said on Thursday that he learned about Speaker Pelosi's letter that's sent to him about the virus stimulus talks in the press. And you guys got to remember, if his office got this at midnight, there's nobody there forwarding it to him because this is an emergency. Like, they're going to wake him up for emergencies. Her political stunt isn't looked at as an emergency. So then it just reiterates what he said. I woke up this morning and read Speaker Pelosi's letter to me in the press. Mnuchin said on Twitter, enclosed as my response, her all or none approach is hurting hardworking Americans who need help now, which is what he said at the end. Pelosi sent a letter to Mnuchin earlier in the day, Thursday. Earlier in the day. Come on the Hill, it was midnight. Demanding a response to the Democrats' latest offer on emergency virus relief and warned that a failure to act quickly will not only worsen the health and economic fallout as the pandemic surges around the country. Your responses are critical for our negotiations to continue, Pelosi wrote to Mnuchin. The president's words that after the election, we will get the best stimulus package you have ever seen only have meaning if he can get the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to take his hand off the pause button and get the Senate Republican chairman moving toward agreements with their House counterparts. I can agree with her. The only way they're actually going to move forward, and I can give her credit, is if they actually get the Senate on board. But everything she's doing is to take the heat off her and try to spin this like it's Trump's fault. That's what I'm seeing. Because it's all about, what do they call it, Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm not even somebody who's pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump, but I'm not pro-Trump. But I am pro-common sense. And anybody can see just the schoolyard bully, manipulative little female tactics that she's using. You know, those women play those games where they'll ruin your life behind your back by gossip and BS and you have no idea what happened, right? Not all women. A lot of women don't do that. And a lot of women grow up from that, right? So I'm not trying to be misogynistic and paint all women that way, but we all know some women that are C-words, just like there are a lot of a-hole dudes. And most likely you're probably not one of them. Maybe we have little remnants of that from time to time in ourselves. But, so it just really irritates me. And so she's basically, and I can give her some credit here, but to me, this is just her pivoting. This is her being manipulative to do everything she can to make Trump look like bad Trump. In his response, Mnuchin accused Pelosi of releasing the letter publicly as a political stunt and claimed it inaccurately described the state of negotiations between the two. Mnuchin further claims that the administration accepted Pelosi's proposal on dollars and language for virus testing and has provided feedback on the section on contact tracing. He also said he's worked with other agencies and committee chairs on responses on several areas of virus relief, including rental assistance, small business, and funding for the Postal Service. End quotes. While you accuse the administration of holding up negotiations, you refuse to bring to the floor of the House the standalone legislation to support airline workers, additional PPP program payments to small businesses, and additional direct payments, as we had talked about before. The letters are the latest squabble between the White House and Democratic congressional leadership on a virus stimulus package that has been stalled for weeks. The two sides have been in disagreement on a price tag of the deal and where money should be allotted. The White House has offered around $1.9 trillion and Democrats have put up $2.2 trillion. President Trump said Tuesday that a stimulus package was coming after the election. He previously urged the Congress to vote on aid before the election day. After the election, we'll get the best stimulus package you've ever seen, the president said Tuesday. Senate Republicans in the White House have blamed Pelosi for not agreeing to their demands, claiming the speaker has been unwilling to compromise close to the November 3rd election. Surprise! Anything to make Trump look bad. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it, Trump said during the last week's presidential debate when asked about a lack of stimulus deal from Congress. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically. Meanwhile, the U.S. is still grappling with the reality of a surging pandemic with more than 500,000 new cases of the virus recorded over this past week. The total set a new weekly record as cases continue to rise with the cooling weather. 25 states have set a new record for cases in the last 2 weeks, including 17 states with record highs since last Wednesday. So there you have it. The dumbest political war that you have ever seen. Nancy Pelosi trying to pivot. It's not my fault. Nancy Pelosi, even though she is absolutely 1,000% in the way of anything getting done, here it is. Miss Pelosi trying to put all the blame on everybody else for her failings and shortcomings. It just, I mean, we're not surprised. Nobody's surprised looking at this, right? It's just, it's infuriating because she's playing with our lives. She is playing with our lives. She is directly meddling into our lives, and it's now beyond upsetting, anger, rage, and embarrassing. The last word I used was embarrassing. This is now dangerous. She needs to step up and help. So my message to the American people, it is not my place to tell you who to vote for and how, because they're all pieces of crap in my opinion. What I will say is vote them out. Get all of these people out. Vote them out. They no longer deserve this position, and they need to start being defunded. We have to stop funding these politicians. They actually have to be servants of the people, because that's not what we're seeing now. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please help me out. Give me a big thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified daily what is coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything you have to say, and please share this content with as many people as you know who are struggling. People who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, waiting for stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, and everything in between. I got tons of tools and tons of resources to help everybody on this channel, and I would love to help as many people as possible. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, share the content, the more my channel grows, the more things I can do to give back to you guys. So for instance, our $100 gift card giveaway, it's so simple. This is all you have to do. Like our video, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom. You're eligible, you're entered, that's all you have to do. Make sure, like, comment, and share in every video you see, because the more chances that you do, the more chances you have of winning, and the more comments you leave, the more chances you have of winning, and it helps me grow the channel so I can continue to give back to you guys. Yay, good luck, very, very excited for all of that. Also guys, add me on Facebook, Katie's Insight, like the page, join the group Katie's Corner. It's going to be changed to Katie's Insight soon, but right now it's Katie's Corner. Go in there, ask all the stimulus questions you want, share news. If there's something there that maybe I haven't seen, I would love to hear everything you guys have to say. Okay guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up for here now, but there will be more because these people are stupid and they don't stop. Okay guys, lots of love, take care, blessings. Until next time, I will see you soon. Bye guys.